The great chamber of the Galactic Council stretched out like a metal flower, its walls reaching high into shadows. 7 sections formed a perfect circle, each designed for a different alien species. The air hummed with translation devices working hard to turn thoughts into words that everyone could understand. Ambassador Sarah Chen sat in the human section, watching the debate unfold before her. The human area was small compared to the others. Only 12 people represented 300 human worlds, while some species brought delegations of hundreds. Chen had been coming to these meetings for 15 years. She knew how things worked here. The Zelathi dominated trade discussions with their forearms waving charts and profit reports. The Corvan Empire demanded respect with their tall, armored bodies and deep voices. The Vashtai floated in their energy suits, speaking in riddles about cosmic balance that nobody really understood. The insect-like Thexmar calculated everything down to the smallest detail with their multiple eyes and clicking sounds. Today felt different. Chen could sense it in the way the other ambassadors avoided looking at the human section. Something was coming. The motion before us today, announced Councillor Veltar of the Zelathi, his blue skin shimmering under the lights, concerns the new species contribution assessment. Each race must provide their special abilities for the greater good of our alliance. The humans had heard rumors about this for months. Other species talked openly about what each race was really good for. The Corvan Empire brought military strength. The Zelathi handled trade and money. The Vashtai offered their mysterious energy technologies. The Thexmar managed logistics and planning. The assessment committee has spent 2 years studying each species. Veltar continued. We have determined the most efficient use of galactic resources. Chen felt her stomach tighten. She had seen the draft reports. She knew what was coming. The Corvan Empire will lead all military operations. Veltar read from his datapad. Their warrior culture and advanced weapons make them ideal for defense. Growls of approval came from the Corvan section. Their ambassador, General Thokmar, stood and beat his chest, once in acknowledgement. The Zelathi Consortium will manage all trade agreements and economic planning. Our mathematical precision serves the galaxy well. More approving sounds, this time from Veltar's own people. The Vashtai will oversee energy production and distribution. Their connection to cosmic forces remains unmatched. The floating figures in the Vashtai section pulsed with soft light, their version of agreement. The Thexmar Collective will handle all transportation and supply chain management. Their organizational skills are without equal. Clicking and chittering sounds filled the air as the insect-like beings celebrated. Chen watched this performance, knowing what came next. She had read the reports. She knew how they saw humanity. The remaining species, Veltar said, his voice dropping slightly, will be assigned support roles based on their capabilities. 2-3. He paused, looking around the chamber before continuing. Humans will be classified as maintenance specialists and support personnel. They show adequate technical skills and can be useful for basic engineering tasks and general assistance. The words hit the human section like cold water. Chen felt her assistant, David Park, stiffen beside her. Around the small human delegation, faces went carefully blank. Any questions before we vote? Veltar asked. Chen could have spoken. She could have reminded them of the hyperspace routes that humans had mapped, the communication networks they had built, the trade systems they had optimized, the 1,000 small improvements they had made to galactic civilization over the past 3 centuries. Instead, she stayed quiet. They had made their decision already. The vote was just ceremony. All in favor? Veltar called. 6 sections lit up with approval signals. The Corvan Empire roared. The Zelathi flashed their lights. The Vashtai pulsed brighter. The Thexmar clicked in unison. The 2 smaller allied species quickly added their own agreement. Any opposed? Chen pressed the human section's response button. A small red light appeared on the main display. One opposition noted, Veltar said without looking at the humans. Motion passes. Implementation begins immediately. The other ambassadors were already moving on, talking about timeline details and resource allocation. Chen listened to them divide up the galaxy like it was a business deal. Humans will report to sector supervisors for assignment, someone was saying. Standard support rates apply for their services. Chen stood up slowly. The movement caught Veltar's attention. "Yes, Ambassador Chen. Do you have a procedural question?" Chen looked around the chamber one last time. She thought about all the late nights her people had spent fixing problems that other species did not even know existed. She thought about the warnings they had given that nobody listened to. She thought about 3 centuries of being useful but never being valued. The Terran Colonial Union formally withdraws from the Galactic Council, effective immediately, she said. Her voice was calm and clear. "We will honor existing treaties for exactly 1 standard year to allow for transitional arrangements. Good day." The chamber fell silent. Chen could feel hundreds of alien eyes staring at her small delegation. "Ambassador Chen," Veltar said, his voice uncertain. "Surely we can discuss this." "There is no need for such dramatic action. There is nothing to discuss," Chen replied. "You have made your assessment. We accept it. Humans are clearly not suited for full membership in your organization." She gathered her datapad and stood. Around her, the other human delegates did the same. "We withdraw our personnel from all council facilities within the month," Chen continued. "All human-operated systems will transfer to council control as per standard protocols." She turned and walked toward the exit. Her delegation followed in orderly silence. Behind them, the chamber erupted in confused chatter. Several ambassadors called out questions and demands. Chen did not look back. "Ambassador!" General Thokmar's voice boomed across the chamber. "Humans cannot simply leave. You have responsibilities." Chen paused at the door and turned back one final time. "Our responsibility was to serve this council as equals," she said. "Since that is not possible, we choose to serve ourselves instead." The human delegation walked out through the great doors. They moved without anger, without threats, without drama. They simply left. Within hours, the news spread through diplomatic channels. The humans had withdrawn from galactic politics entirely. Most species barely noticed. After all, they were just support personnel. 6 months had passed since the humans left the council. Most species had already forgotten about the small delegation that walked out of the chamber that day. The galaxy moved on, as it always did. Trade coordinator HFY of the Thexmar Collective was the first to notice something wrong. She stood in the central hub of the Kepler Station Trade Center, watching cargo shipments arrive and depart. For 3 centuries, ships had moved through this system like clockwork. Every day, exactly 47 vessels arrived and 49 departed, keeping the perfect balance that Thexmar mathematics demanded. Today, only 32 ships had arrived. Worse, they were arriving at random times instead of following the precise schedule that kept the station running smoothly. "Computer," HFY clicked in her native language, "explain shipping delays." The station's artificial intelligence responded in flat, electronic tones. "Multiple route deviations detected. Hyperspace lane efficiency down 12%. Navigation beacon network experiencing signal degradation." HFY's 4 arms moved quickly over her control panels, pulling up charts and graphs. The numbers made no sense. These trade routes had run perfectly for generations. Her own people had designed the logistics systems. They were flawless. "Show me maintenance records for navigation beacons," she ordered. The computer displayed files that made HFY's compound eyes narrow. The last maintenance checks were performed 6 months ago. By humans. "Who is responsible for beacon maintenance now?" she asked. "No current assignment found," the computer replied. 3 sectors away, Communications Chief Mordoon of the Vashtai was discovering his own problems. The meditation networks that connected his people across the galaxy were experiencing strange interruptions. During morning synchronization, 17 colonies had lost connection entirely. Mordoon floated in his energy suit, studying the quantum resonance patterns that his people used to communicate across vast distances. The harmony was broken. Instead of smooth, flowing energy, he saw choppy waves and dead spots. "This is not possible," he whispered to himself. These systems were perfect. His assistant, young Kolvar, drifted closer. "Elder, I have studied the technical specifications. The resonance chambers require monthly calibration to maintain proper frequency. Of course they do. We calibrate them every month. No, Elder. Humans calibrated them. Our people only monitored the results. Mordun's energy field flickered with surprise. That cannot be correct. Humans do not understand cosmic harmony. Kolvar displayed holographic records. The calibration procedures are highly technical. Human technicians performed adjustments that our people recorded, but never learned to duplicate. Meanwhile, in the military command center of the Corvan Empire, General Voktar was facing his own crisis. 3 of his battle cruisers had suffered targeting system failures during routine exercises. The proud weapons of the Empire could not hit practice targets that were sitting perfectly still. "Engineers," he roared, "fix these systems immediately." Chief Engineer Growlmuch approached nervously. "General, we have studied the targeting computers extensively. The software is beyond our understanding." "What do you mean?" Voktar demanded. "The targeting systems were upgraded repeatedly over the past century. Each upgrade was performed by human technicians. We have the basic operation manuals, but not the modification records." Voktar's face darkened. "Are you telling me that my warships depend on human technology?" "Not exactly, sir. The base systems are Corvan design. But humans made thousands of small improvements. Better accuracy, faster targeting, reduced power consumption. Without their modifications, our weapons perform at perhaps 60% efficiency." The general stared at his engineer in disbelief. The mighty Corvan Empire, reduced to this. Back at Kepler Station, Zexhai had called an emergency meeting with representatives from the other major species. The trade coordinator had spent weeks investigating the shipping problems, and what she found disturbed her greatly. "The situation is more serious than we initially believed," she announced to the assembled delegates. "Humans did not simply operate some of our systems. They maintained thousands of small components that we never realized existed." Veltar of the Zealothi leaned forward. "Explain." Zexhai activated a holographic display showing the Galactic Trade Network. "Humans managed route optimization algorithms that we thought were automatic. They calibrated hyperspace resonance generators that we thought were self-maintaining. They updated communication relay protocols that we assumed were permanent. Surely they left documentation," said General Thokmar. "They did," Zexhai replied. "We have found over 2 million technical documents. The problem is understanding them." She displayed samples of human technical manuals. The pages were filled with detailed instructions, mathematical formulas, and system diagrams. These documents assume knowledge that we do not possess. They reference procedures that build on other procedures that reference still other procedures. Humans learned these systems gradually over centuries. We would need decades to understand even basic concepts. Mordun's energy field pulsed with concern. "There is another problem. Many human improvements were not documented at all. They called them intuitive adjustments, small changes made based on experience and instinct." "Impossible," Thokmar growled. "All technical work must be recorded." "Human technicians often made modifications during routine maintenance," Mordun explained. "They would notice something working inefficiently and fix it immediately. These improvements were so small that they seemed insignificant. But they accumulated over time," Zexhai added. "Thousands of tiny improvements that made our systems work better than their original specifications." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Veltar finally spoke. "What are the projected consequences?" Zexhai's mandibles clicked nervously. "If current trends continue, we face complete breakdown of interstellar commerce within 18 months. Communication networks will fail gradually, isolating colonies from their home worlds. Military systems will degrade to pre-alliance levels." "Economic losses?" Veltar asked. "Conservative estimate? 40% reduction in galactic trade volume. Optimistic estimate? 20%. Worst case scenario?" Zexhai paused. "Complete economic collapse." Thokmar slammed his fist on the table. "Then we force the humans to return. They cannot abandon their responsibilities." "General," Mordun said quietly, "we declared humans to be support personnel. We told them they were not worthy of full membership. Why would they help us now? The question hung in the air like poison gas. HFY pulled up shipping reports from human space. According to our intelligence, human colonies continue operating normally. Their trade networks show no signs of disruption. Because they understand their own systems, Veltar said bitterly. Yes, HFY confirmed, and we never bothered to learn. The meeting ended with no solutions. The species that had dismissed humanity as mere support personnel now faced a galaxy slowly falling apart without them. Outside the station's windows, another cargo ship drifted past its assigned docking port, its navigation systems unable to find the proper approach vector. The breakdown had only just begun. The problems were getting worse every day. Counselor Veltar stood before an emergency session, watching frustrated delegates argue about solutions that nobody had. We must contact the humans, announced Ambassador Kretal, from one of the smaller allied species. Ask them to return and help us fix these systems. Ask them? General Thokmar's voice boomed across the chamber. We do not ask. We demand they fulfill their obligations to galactic peace. Veltar raised his hands for silence. We have been trying to contact them for 2 months. Our diplomatic missions have been unsuccessful. Unsuccessful how? Asked Mordun. Veltar activated the chamber's display system. See for yourselves. The screen showed a recording from the diplomatic vessel Star of Zeleth. The ship approached a human space station at the edge of their territory. The station was beautiful, all flowing curves and gleaming metal, clearly human in design. Unknown vessel, came a polite human voice from the recording. You are approaching restricted territory. Please state your business. This is Ambassador Kelvor, representing the Galactic Council. The Zelethi diplomat replied. We request permission to dock and begin negotiations. There was a pause before the human responded. Ambassador, the Terran Colonial Union withdrew from the Galactic Council 8 months ago. We have no current diplomatic relationship. Please depart the area. We need to discuss critical infrastructure problems affecting all species, Kelvor insisted. That sounds difficult. The human voice replied with what sounded like genuine sympathy. Unfortunately, we cannot help you. Please depart within 1 hour. The recording showed the space station simply going dark. No more communication. No threats. No violence. Just silence. Similar responses at all human facilities, Veltar explained. They are polite, but completely uninterested in negotiation. What about our emergency communication channels? Asked HFY. Changed or deactivated? Humans have switched to completely different frequencies and encryption methods. Our translation computers cannot even recognize their new protocols. Thokmar growled with frustration. Then we send intelligence operatives to gather information. We tried that too, Veltar said reluctantly. The next recording showed a small, stealthy ship attempting to approach a human mining colony. The ship used Corvan military camouflage technology, nearly invisible to most sensor systems. Warning, came a calm human voice when the ship was still 2 light hours away from the colony. Unauthorized vessel, you are detected and tracked. Turn around immediately or you will be disabled. Impossible, muttered someone in the chamber. That ship was using full stealth. The operative continued the approach. Veltar continued. Watch what happened. The recording showed the infiltration ship suddenly stopping dead in space. All its systems went offline simultaneously. Life support, engines, weapons, communications. Everything simply turned off. How? Thokmar demanded. We do not know. The ship drifted helpless for 6 hours before humans sent a rescue vessel. They returned our operative unharmed with all his equipment intact, but completely non-functional. Did he learn anything? Only that human defensive systems are far more advanced than we realized. They detected a stealth ship at impossible range using unknown technology. They disabled it without violence, without permanent damage, and without leaving any trace of how they did it. The chamber erupted in worried chatter. If humans could neutralize Corvan's stealth technology so easily, what else could they do? Mordun's energy field pulsed with concern. We have sent 17 different intelligence missions into human space over the past 3 months. None succeeded. Humans always detected them within hours and politely escorted them out. Our court, it gets worse, Veltar continued. Our analysts studied human space from a distance. What they found is disturbing. The display showed long-range sensor readings of human territory. Hundreds of worlds, thousands of space stations, millions of ships moving in complex patterns. Human civilization has grown far beyond what we recorded when they left the Council. They have built new colonies, new installations, new technologies that our sensors cannot identify. Hidden military buildup? Thokmar suggested. No evidence of weapons or military expansion. But their defensive capabilities are clearly extensive. Every human world is protected by sensor networks that extend for light years in all directions. Any ship approaching their territory is detected, identified, and tracked long before it arrives. Zexhai studied the data with her compound eyes. These sensor readings show massive energy signatures around human worlds. What are they powering? Unknown. The energy patterns do not match any technology we understand. Perhaps, Mordoun said thoughtfully, we have been approaching this problem incorrectly. Instead of trying to force contact, what if we simply asked for help? Thokmar laughed harshly. Ask the humans for mercy? The great species of the galaxy, begging maintenance workers for assistance? Pride will not repair our failing systems, Zexhai pointed out. Fine, Thokmar declared. But first, let me try direct action. A proper military approach. 3 weeks later, General Thokmar led a battle fleet to the edge of human space. Not to attack, he insisted, but to conduct peaceful reconnaissance and demonstrate that the Council meant business. The fleet was impressive. 12 Corvan battlecruisers, the pride of the Empire. Each ship carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. They approached the human border in full battle formation, weapons powered but not targeted. Human vessels, Thokmar broadcast on all frequencies. This is General Thokmar of the Corvan Empire. We come in peace but demand audience with your leaders. The response came immediately. General, this is Captain Lisa Park of the Terran Defense Force. You are approaching sovereign territory with weapons powered. Please depart immediately. Captain, we will depart when we have completed our mission. Stand aside. General, I'm going to ask you one more time. Please leave. Thokmar looked at his tactical display. He saw no human ships, no defensive installations, nothing that could threaten his mighty fleet. Negative, Captain. We will proceed as planned. What happened next became legend in military academies across the galaxy. Every weapon system on every Corvan ship simply turned off. Not destroyed, not damaged, just deactivated, as if someone had pressed an off switch. Targeting computers went blank. Energy weapons lost power. Missile systems locked down. The ships could still move and maintain life support, but they had no offensive capability whatsoever. Your weapons are now offline, Captain Park announced calmly. They will remain offline until you leave our territory. No permanent damage has been done, but any attempt to reactivate weapons will result in complete system shutdown. Thokmar tried everything. His engineers worked frantically to restore power to weapon systems. Nothing worked. Whatever humans had done to his ships was beyond Corvan understanding. How are you doing this? He finally asked. General, humans have been maintaining galactic technology for 3 centuries. Did you really think we never learned how to turn it off? The fleet retreated in humiliation. When they crossed back into Council space, their weapons systems reactivated automatically. Report, Veltar demanded when Thokmar returned to the Council chambers. The proud general looked broken. Humans are not the simple maintenance workers we believed them to be. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. They could have destroyed my fleet instantly but chose merely to embarrass us instead. Recommendations? Thokmar met Veltar's eyes. We beg them to come back and fix what we have broken. We have no other choice. But when the Council tried to send an official apology and request for assistance, they discovered that humans had stopped monitoring Council communication frequencies entirely. They were completely, totally alone. 1 year had passed since the humans left. The galaxy was dying. Captain Jex Tar of the Zalathi merchant vessel Blue Prophet stared at his navigation screen in horror. The hyperspace route from Zeleth Prime to the Cygnus colonies had been used safely for over 400 years. Today, it was a death trap. "Computer, explain hyperspace instability," he ordered. "Resonance generator network failure," the ship's artificial intelligence replied. "Route safety rating, critical danger. Recommend alternative path." "What alternative path?" Jextar demanded. "This is the only route to Cygnus. No viable alternatives detected. Destination unreachable." Jextar felt his forearms trembling. The Cygnus colonies supplied food for 12 billion Zelathi. Without that food, his homeworld would face starvation within months. He was not alone in his desperation. Across the galaxy, space captains stared at similar warnings. Hyperspace routes that had worked perfectly for centuries were becoming unstable. The resonance generators that kept the paths safe were failing one by one. On the Thexmar homeworld, Trade Coordinator Zex High watched her civilization collapse in real time. The great logistics networks that her people had spent millennia perfecting were falling apart like a house made of cards. "Status report," she clicked to her assistant. 17 major trade routes now impassable, came the reply. 23 colony worlds have lost contact with the main network. Food distribution to outer systems has stopped completely. Zexhi's compound eyes studied the data flowing across her screens. The numbers told a story of disaster. The Thexmar had always believed their mathematical precision made them perfect trade managers. They had calculated every detail, optimized every route, perfected every system, but they had never understood how the systems actually worked. "Show me the human maintenance records again," she ordered. The files appeared on her display. Thousands of small adjustments, tiny repairs, minor optimizations that humans had made over the decades. Each change seemed insignificant by itself. Together, they had kept galactic commerce running smoothly. "We never learned to see the connections," Zexhi realized. "We saw individual systems, but humans saw the whole network." Her assistant clicked nervously. "What do you mean?" "Humans did not just fix broken parts. They prevented problems before they happened. They noticed when one system was affecting another system 3 sectors away. They understood how everything connected together. The realization was devastating. The Thexmar were excellent at calculating known problems. But humans had been solving unknown problems before they became crises. Meanwhile, on the Vashtai energy worlds, the meditation networks that connected their people were failing catastrophically. Elder Mordoon floated in his chamber, trying to reach the outer colonies through the quantum communication system. Static and interference filled his consciousness instead of the usual harmony. "Elder," his assistant Kolvar approached urgently. "We have lost contact with 47 colonies. The resonance chambers are going offline faster than we can repair them. How many technicians do we have who understand the calibration procedures?" Mordoon asked. "None, Elder. Our people learned to monitor the systems, but humans performed all the actual technical work." Mordoon's energy field flickered with despair. 3 centuries of depending on others to maintain our most sacred technology. How did we become so blind? The breakdown was affecting everyone. But nowhere was it more dramatic than in the Corvan Empire. General Vokhtar stood in his command center, reading reports of rebellion and chaos throughout his territory. "Sir," his communications officer announced, "the Outer Rim sectors have declared independence. They say the Empire can no longer protect them or provide basic services. Send the fleet to restore order," Vokhtar commanded. "Sir, our ships cannot reach the Outer Rim. The hyperspace routes are unstable, and our targeting systems are operating at 40% efficiency. The rebels have weapons that are more accurate than ours." Vokhtar stared at the tactical display showing his shrinking empire. Red zones marked areas where he had lost control. Yellow zones showed regions where his authority was being challenged. Only a few green areas remained loyal. And they were getting smaller every day. "How did this happen?" he asked. "Sir, our military technology was enhanced over many decades by human modifications. Without those improvements, Our weapons are inferior to older systems that were built before human involvement. The irony was bitter. The Empire's newest, most advanced weapons were less effective than equipment from previous generations because they had been designed to work with human improvements that no longer existed. On Zelith Prime, Counselor Veltar received similar reports from across Council space. The civilization that had dismissed humans as support personnel was learning the true cost of their decision. Status of member worlds? He asked his aide. The Corvan Empire has lost control of 30% of its territory. The Thexmar Collective cannot feed half their population. Our own colonies are requesting emergency supplies that we cannot deliver. What about the smaller allied species? The Rigel Union has collapsed completely. Their government has fallen, and their worlds have declared martial law. The Centauri Republic is barely maintaining basic services. Veltar studied the disaster reports flowing in from every corner of the galaxy. Famine was spreading as food distribution networks failed. Communication blackouts left entire sectors isolated from their governments. Without reliable transportation, medicines and supplies could not reach worlds that needed them desperately. What do our analysts say about human space? He asked. His aide activated a display showing long-range sensor readings. Human territory shows no signs of the problems affecting us, sir. Their transportation networks operate normally. Their communication systems function perfectly. Their worlds appear to be thriving. Of course they are, Veltar said bitterly. They understand their own technology. The reports continued throughout the day. Power grids failing on industrial worlds. Automated defense systems shutting down randomly. Life support systems on space stations operating unpredictably. Computer networks experiencing mysterious crashes, every problem traced back to the same source. Systems that had worked perfectly when humans maintained them were failing without human knowledge and care. Sir, his aide said hesitantly, there is something else. Our intelligence service has been monitoring human space more carefully. What they discovered is concerning. Explain. Human technology has advanced significantly since they left the Council. Energy readings from their worlds suggest power generation methods we do not recognize. Their ships use propulsion systems that appear to ignore conventional physics limitations. They have built structures that our sensors cannot properly analyze. Veltar absorbed this information slowly. They have been innovating while we have been collapsing. Yes, sir. Humans never needed our technology. We needed theirs. The final report came from the Vashtai. Elder Mordoon had managed to establish brief contact with a few remaining meditation networks to share his insights. We understand now, his message said. Humans were not just good engineers. They were natural systems thinkers. They saw connections that we missed. They understood how small changes could affect large networks. They prevented problems by fixing causes instead of treating symptoms. Veltar read the message with growing dread. They were never support personnel. They were the foundation that kept everything working. What do we do now, sir? Veltar looked out the window of his office at the city below. Even here on the Zelathi homeworld, the lights were dimming as power systems struggled without human optimization. We learned to live with the consequences of our pride, he said quietly. But deep down, he knew the truth. The galaxy as they had known it was ending. Without humans to hold the systems together, galactic civilization was fragmenting back into isolated worlds, struggling to survive. The council that had once ruled the stars could barely keep the lights on. 3 years had passed since humanity left the council. The great chamber that once hosted representatives from across the galaxy now echoed with the voices of only 4 species. Counselor Veltar looked around the nearly empty room. Half the seats stood vacant, covered with dust sheets. The Rigel Union was gone, their worlds scattered and struggling to survive alone. The Centauri Republic had dissolved into warring factions. Even the proud Corvan Empire controlled only a fraction of their former territory. We need solutions, Veltar announced to the surviving delegates. The situation cannot continue. General Thokmar, now representing what remained of the Corvan territories, slammed his fist on the table. We should demand that humans return. Threaten military action if they refuse. With what military? Trade Coordinator Zexhai asked bitterly. Your empire has 3 functioning warships. The rest cannot leave their home systems because their navigation computers have failed. Then we rebuild our own technology, Thokmar growled. We lived before humans. We can live without them. Elder Mordun's energy field flickered weakly. That would take centuries, if it is even possible. Our people are dying now. Veltar activated the chamber's display system. According to our latest intelligence, the situation in human space is very different from ours. The screen showed sensor readings from the edge of human territory. Where council space was marked by failing infrastructure and dying colonies, human space showed signs of incredible prosperity. Energy readings from human worlds have increased by 400% since they left us, Veltar explained. They have built new space installations that our sensors cannot properly identify. Their ships move faster than anything we have ever recorded. Impossible, Thokmar muttered. More disturbing is this, Veltar continued, switching to a different display. Long-range scans show human colonies in regions where no life should be possible. Worlds orbiting dying stars now support millions of people. Gas giants have been converted into inhabited structures. They have mastered technologies that we cannot begin to understand. Zexhai studied the data with her remaining functioning eye. Malnutrition had affected even the council leadership, as food distribution networks continued to fail. How did they advance so quickly? She asked. Mordun's voice was barely a whisper. Perhaps they were always more advanced than we realized. Perhaps they held back their best ideas while working with us. The chamber fell silent as this possibility sank in. Had humans been hiding their true capabilities all along? There is one option we have not tried, Veltar said reluctantly. We could admit our mistakes. Ask for forgiveness. Beg them to help us, Thokmar roared with outrage. The great species of the galaxy do not beg. The great species of the galaxy are dying, Zexhai shot back. Pride will not feed my people. Then let us try, Mordun suggested. What do we have left to lose? 2 weeks later, they managed to establish communication with human space. It had taken enormous effort to reach the humans' new diplomatic frequencies using their failing technology. The message was transmitted directly to the office of Ambassador Sarah Chen. Now aged and gray, but still representing humanity's interests, Chen sat in her study on New Terra, watching the desperate faces of the alien leaders who had once dismissed her people. The council's message was formal, but the desperation was obvious. To Ambassador Chen and the leaders of the Terran Colonial Union, Veltar's voice came through clearly despite the poor signal quality. The Galactic Council formally requests emergency assistance with critical infrastructure failures affecting billions of lives. We acknowledge that errors may have been made in our previous relationship and are prepared to discuss new terms for cooperation. The message continued for several minutes, listing the catastrophes affecting Council space. Entire colonies cut off from supplies. Billions facing starvation. Governments collapsing as they could no longer provide basic services. We are prepared to offer significant compensation for human assistance, the message concluded. Please respond at your earliest convenience. Chen turned off the recording and looked out the window of her office. Outside, New Terra's capital city stretched to the horizon, a beautiful blend of flowing architecture and natural gardens. Floating vehicles moved quietly through the air, powered by clean energy that humans had developed after leaving the council. In the distance, she could see the launch towers, where ships departed daily for new colonies among the stars. Her assistant, David Park, now her elderly advisor, entered the room. The council's message, Ambassador? He asked. They want us to come back and fix their problems, Chen said simply. Are we going to help them? Chen considered the question carefully. She thought about the years of being ignored in council meetings. She remembered the vote that classified humans as mere support personnel. She recalled the countless nights her people had worked to solve problems that other species never even noticed. But she also thought about the billions of innocent people suffering in council space because their leaders had made poor decisions. Draft a response, she told David. What should it say? Chen was quiet for a long moment, choosing her words carefully. Finally, she spoke. The Terran Colonial Union acknowledges receipt of the Galactic Council's request for assistance. We sympathize with the difficulties being experienced by council member populations. She paused, looking out at the thriving civilization that humans had built in just 3 years of freedom. However, the Terran Colonial Union has no interest in rejoining an organization that found our contributions inadequate to their needs. We wish the Council species well in their endeavors to solve these challenges. David looked surprised. That's all? Add this, Chen continued. Perhaps in a few generations, when new leadership emerges that values cooperation over hierarchy, we might consider limited trade relationships. Until then, we have our own responsibilities to the human colonies who depend on us. Should we offer any immediate humanitarian aid? David asked. Chen thought about this carefully. Send medical supplies and emergency food to refugee populations through neutral channels. But no technical assistance, and no direct government contact. As David left to draft the official response, Chen returned to her window. In the sky above, she could see the construction platforms where humans were building their newest innovation. A ring world that would house 1 billion people around a carefully controlled star. The humans had not been idle during their exile. Free from the limitations and politics of the Council, they had advanced their technology by centuries. They had solved energy crises, eliminated poverty, created sustainable ecosystems, and developed methods of space construction that seemed impossible. The communication system on her desk activated, showing an incoming message from one of the human colony ships exploring beyond the galactic rim. They had discovered something wonderful. A region of space where new stars were being born, where planets could be shaped from cosmic dust, where life itself could be guided and nurtured. Chen smiled as she read the report. Humanity was reaching for things that the Council had never imagined possible. The response was transmitted to Council space that evening. When Veltar received it, he read it in silence before setting it aside. They refused? Zexhai asked. Politely but completely, Veltar confirmed. Outside the Council chambers, the lights of the galactic capital flickered uncertainly as power systems struggled to maintain basic functions. The Council had gained the universe when they expelled humanity. Now they were learning that the universe was too large and complex for them to hold on to alone. Somewhere in the vast darkness between stars, human ships continued their journey toward wonders that had not existed when the galaxy was young.